It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, both Konica and Ricoh had published their financials for the first quarter. Their first quarter ending for their year, March of 2022, ended in June. Financials are published. I'm looking through these things, and I want to talk about some of the things. I want to focus mainly on Ricoh, but I am going to do a comparison of the top line numbers between Ricoh and Konica because I think there's a concerning thing we all need to pay attention to. Now, I realize you're probably going to read about these financials somewhere else. They're going to talk about how great things are, how we've improved so much over first quarter last year. Of course, first quarter last year, the whole world was dead, and now we're kind of alive and we're actually doing some things. And so there should be some kind of an increase, wouldn't you think? So comparing us to a global pandemic, a global shutdown, isn't really anything to brag about. I'm just going to put that out there because I think we got to stop doing that because we just sound stupid when we do it. So what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the concerns that I see with the OEMs. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the reality. Disruption is banging on the corporate offices of all the OEMs. It's banging on the door. Let me in. Let me in and help you. We're in the middle of the biggest disruption in your industry. You've got to pay attention to this or you're going to go away. You're going to go away like Kodak. You're going to go away like Sears and Blockbuster. You got to pay attention to what's going on around you. Why are you not consolidating with each other? Why are you not consolidating with each other so you can cut massive amounts of cost and so you can deliver some relevance into the marketplace so you can increase your operating margin? You can't run around with a 1 or 2% operating margin in a declining marketplace. You don't have any money left to diversify. You can't just keep moving your business models around and moving money from one place to the other place so you look good on paper. You got to really have a strategy. You got to be able to go into the marketplace that you know is declining and fix things to be relevant to end users. Boy, that was a rant. But ladies and gentlemen, it's just unbelievable to me that we're 18 months into a global pandemic and these OEMs are acting like there's nothing to worry about. We're going to digitize our customers. We're going to do all these things. Your business is selling print equipment, it's supplies and it's services. That's where you made all your money. That's where you still make all your money. I should say where you're making your money because it's not a whole lot to brag about. And the reality of it is, if you don't start making some serious changes, there's going to be a problem. It's going to be a massive problem. And it's going to affect those resellers that do business with you. It's going to affect the end users that you're doing business with. We've got to start facing some realities that we're just not doing it. It's just crazy to me. Anyway, without any further ado, let me just pull up the top line numbers. Let's talk a little bit about Konica and Ricoh. I want to get my sharp interactive board working here. And so let's go to the top number for Ricoh, or I'm going to do Konica first. The top revenue number for Konica for all their business organizations, okay, was 229.9 billion yen, which translates to 2.1 billion US. $2.1 billion. Their operating profit was 3.1 billion yen, which translates to 28 million. 28 million operating profit on $2.1 billion. Folks, that's nothing to brag about. And I'm not doing that to dig on Konica. It's just the reality. This is not good. You can't run around with a 1% margin or 1% operating profit. It just can't, you can't exist in this world doing that. Let's go to our friends over here at Ricoh. Ricoh's top line is 424.8 billion yen. 424.8 billion yen is 3.9 billion US dollars. So their first quarter they did 3.9 billion US dollars. And folks, their operating profit is 5.6 billion yen. 5.6 billion yen is 51 million. Again, it's not enough money. It's nothing to get excited about. It's nothing to be bragging about. God, can you imagine if just Konica and Ricoh just got together and started shedding all kinds of costs? Finished off what they started a long time ago and got rid of all these direct operations? Can you imagine what they might be able to do together? Can you imagine what kind of money they could have for R&D to change the game, to change the world a little bit? What in the world are these OEMs doing? It's just nuts to me. Let's look at the categories that we care about in the Document Imaging channel. You know, we care about the print categories of both Ricoh and Konica. If you look at the digital workplace and the professional print divisions of Konica, yeah, 121.2 billion and 47.9 billion. So folks, together those numbers are 169.1 billion. 169.1 billion, and if you translate that to dollars, it's 1.5. So the $1.5 billion in the categories we care about, the print sector, right? The operating margin on the digital workplace was 1.1 billion yen, and the professional print was 1.0 billion yen. That's a total, folks, of 18 million. They did 18 million. 18 million operating profit on 1.5 billion. You see where I'm going with this? It's not a whole lot of money. It's nothing to be bragging about. I don't really care what the percentage increase was over last year. Nobody does. We care about how are you going to survive through this massive, massive decline we're going through. Folks, it's not going to get any better. We've got to figure this out and figure it out quickly. You know, if you look at our friends over at Ricoh, they have 3 divisions that we care about, okay? And that's the graphics division, that's the digital products and digital services. And if you add up the revenue of those 3 categories, it's 477.7 billion yen, which translates to 4.3 billion US dollars. They're doing $4.3 billion in the categories that we care about, right? And the operating profit for the 4.3 billion is 103 million. Folks, these are too low numbers. This is nothing to get excited about. I know they were better than first quarter last year. Who cares? You know, this is a problem. I'm just thinking if you're in the boardrooms of these companies, you got to be saying to yourself, why the hell don't we merge with somebody? We got to get some synergies. We got to cut some costs. What are we doing? We can't run around with a 1.5%, 2%, 2.5% operating margin. Holy crap. What if there's a problem? What if there's a big disruption? We're going to be in trouble. We just went through the biggest one you'll ever see. The next one is the continuation of the one you just saw. So ladies and gentlemen, let me erase this. I want to continue on a little bit. But the bottom line is it's mind-boggling to me. You know, I want to pull up the forward-looking statement because I think Ricoh nailed it on this. You know, they always have to have some forward-looking statement talking about their financials and their opinions and all that stuff. So it says here in D, uncertainty as to Ricoh's ability to continue to design, develop, produce, and market products and services that achieve market acceptance in a hot competitive market. They're being realistic here. 100% honest. The question is, are they doing anything about it? Let me read that again. You know, there could be some uncertainty as to Ricoh's ability to continue to design, develop, produce, and market products and services that achieve market acceptance in a hot competitive market. Well, for a hot competitive market, why don't you do something about it and buy up another OEM? Folks, we can't do this on our own. And when I say we, I'm talking about the OEMs. The OEMs cannot do this on their own. They've got to figure out how to come together. And they don't have much time left to do this. You can keep fooling yourself and you can play the shell game with your financials and try to figure out how to make every quarter kind of look good and come to the market and talk about how you're going to digitize the world and all these things. But at the end of the day, your business that makes you all your money, and quite honestly, it ain't making you that much, is print. It's supplies and it's services. And yeah, we need to be diversified into these other things, but we wasted a lot of years not preparing to do that. And now it's coming back to haunt us. Let me pull up this next slide. This next slide, it talks about digital services and office services, and they're showing their earnings up on solid showing of Scrum Series and GIGA school projects. That's their scanning stuff. I mean, it's a depository system. So, folks, here's the deal. This is what I want everybody to pay attention to, especially my friends in the documentary show in the United States. If you look down here at Americas, this thing that they love so much, that's selling so well in Japan, it hasn't done anything different from where it was in 2020 first quarter. I mean, you would think that during a global pandemic, people would start scanning stuff. They'd be doing all these applications, right? I mean, we got to digitize yourself. Well, for some reason in Americas, it didn't really move the needle. 23.7, 24.9. Nothing really changed. And this isn't a dig on Ricoh. The reality of it is there's so much competition in that space. I mean, if you look at Ricoh in Japan, they're doing fantastic. Folks, Ricoh in Japan is like Sears in the U.S. I hope it doesn't end up like Sears did in the U.S. It's a well-known name. Everybody knows Ricoh in Japan. They come to market with some digitalization programs and processes. It's probably going to be very well adapted. But in the U.S. and in Europe, you know, Europe had a little bit of a gain, but there's so much competition in that space. And as more and more businesses, you know, are born, the softwares they use and how they manage their business processes are going to do away with so many of the things that some of these services we're doing today even do. We're not going to need all these depository systems and OCR and scanning and all that stuff. Stuff is born behind the computer. It'll stay behind the computer. It'll live behind the computer. It'll move behind the computer. You won't need to do any of this stuff. Yeah, I know you'll have to do some of it, but it won't be enough to substitute for the millions and billions of dollars you're going to lose with the evaporation from the print equipment. It's just fantasy in my world. That's what it is. We're betting on a fantasy. We're not really betting on a reality. So it'll be interesting to watch how this develops. You know, I give Ricoh the credit that they're trying. They're really trying to look past the box. But in all reality, without some kind of consolidation, they're just looking past the box. They're not really putting themselves in a position to live and act outside that box. That's just my opinion, and I can have it. It's my show. So, you know, I want to also talk about the graphics communications business that Ricoh has, this production and industrial print stuff. Folks, you know, this segment of market is exciting. Printing on rugs and printing on floor tile and all this crazy stuff. It's going to change the world. Okay, it really is. But that's not a business-to-business product. That's a unique vertical, and Ricoh might turn out to be one of the ones that does real well in that category. You know? But that's going to be a limited category. We're not going to sell millions of those machines. We're not, folks. And so right now you got everybody and their brother out there doing it, except for Brother. I'm waiting for Brother to announce they've come out with an inkjet industrial print machine. Maybe they'll come out with one, who knows? But you're going to have everybody and their brother chasing this business model, and I believe it's a distracting, very much distracting, what we need to be doing from the business-to-business world. And we need to be focusing on that business-to-business world. We can have this aspirations for industrial print and all that stuff all day long, and we should have those. But we gotta really quarantine that stuff. We gotta quarantine that stuff, not let it be distracting to us, and focus on how we're going to help businesses. How are we going to help business understand workflow around their documents, around their security, around their IT infrastructure? This is where we got to be going. And folks, like I said, I give Ricoh credit that they're really looking out there. They're trying to do these things. But you know, years ago, Ricoh had a document imaging system. I don't quite remember the name of that one, but it was a long time ago, 15 years ago or so. And it didn't last very long. And, you know, sometimes these OEMs get into some things and then they realize, well, that's not really what we want to do and we'll just get out of it. Or they realize the competition's too heavy, we underestimated the competition, and we want to exit. And so we're going to have some of that too. And I'm not just saying that Ricoh's going to exit the stuff that they're doing, but there's a real reality that as the OEMs do consolidate, and whether they want to or not, they are going to consolidate. Maybe they'll consolidate through some kind of a court system where they have to, you know, liquidate some of their assets. Who knows? But if they don't start paying attention to the realities in the marketplace, if they don't start figuring out how to come together and cut some cost and deliver relevance, you know, one of the things I noticed in the financial report of Ricoh was they're knocking it out of the park with A3. I'm thinking to myself, that's kind of crazy. Then I remember, well, I don't really have A4. A3? Folks, here's the deal. You better figure out what you're going to do with an A4 equipment, and quickly. And you better figure out how that's going to replace all your A3s, and what are you going to do with the losses that occur when that happens. So many things that these OEMs have to be doing. But right now, you know, you wait for the financials to come out. You know, I wait for the way the industry's going to talk about them. They're going to talk about all the crazy things that make no sense to anybody. And I'm just saying to myself, when is this industry going to have some real damn serious conversations? Because running on a 1 or 2% operating profit is not going to cut it. It's not going to help us move the needle. We're going to end up being the Sears, the Blockbuster, or the Kodak. Do we really want that for our industry? And, you know, you resellers out there, you better start paying attention to the OEM's financials. You better start thinking about what are these OEMs going to do when they do consolidate. Who are they going to consolidate with, and how is that going to affect me? Just because the OEMs aren't talking about it doesn't mean it ain't going to happen. It is going to happen. And my last thing I want to say is this. I'm so sick and damn tired of these awards. Maybe I'm just being too cynical today. I don't know. But nobody gives a crap about any of this stuff. Why can't we take these awards and tell us what it means to end users? Instead of telling us that we got some award, we're the top 250 cloud provider on the MSP list, whatever that. Folks, none of this shit matters. And again, I think we put all this crap on our websites, and I'm not just talking about Ricoh, all the OEMs. We put all this stuff on our websites so that we can just feel good. Yeah, we got all these awards. We got to be relevant. I mean, look at all the awards we got. We got to be relevant. Relevance isn't given to you by an award company. Relevance is given to you by your end users. And you better pay attention to what your end users want. Because right now, they damn sure don't want these oversold, overspec'd A3 machines. They have so many options when it comes to cloud services. Probably the last people they're thinking about are the print providers. There's a lot of competition around IT services. Probably the last people they're thinking about are the print providers. Do you see how drastic we need to change things? We need to change them drastic. I know today I was a little bit boisterous in some of my opinions or my thoughts, but that's just me. But the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that will be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.